Singaporeans will go to the polls on 10th July and nomination day for this general election will be next Tuesday. President Halimah Yacob, on the advice of Prime Minister Hsien Loong, has dissolved Parliament. This general election comes in the midst of a pandemic that has disrupted global economies since the start of the year. Now, Prime Minister Lee says he's satisfied that voting can be done safely and that campaigning can go on effectively right now. Going to the polls when Singapore is in what he calls a stable position will give the new government a fresh mandate to focus on tackling difficult challenges that lie ahead. The alternative would be to wait out the pandemic, but no one knows when it will end and could go past the current government's term, which ends in January. Gwyneth Teo with more.
Almost 2 months of circuit breaker measures have passed, and since the beginning of the pandemic, 4 budgets worth $100 billion to help companies, workers and households. Mr. Lee says Singapore is now in a stable position, with new community cases coming down sharply. But he calls this the end of only the beginning. PM Lee says there is still a long fight ahead against the disease, and Singapore hasn't even felt the full economic impact of the pandemic yet. And it's not just domestic concerns, there are also uncertainties abroad, such as the rising tensions between US and China, border clashes between India and China, and political developments in Southeast Asia.
We do not know what surprises may be in store for us within the next year. But as dangers materialize, we must navigate safely through them and protect Singapore's security and national interests. And this will require diplomatic skills and a deft touch. To overcome these challenges, we must stand completely united as one people. Singaporeans and the government must work closely together with full trust and confidence in each other. The government must be able to respond promptly and decisively to the COVID-19 outbreak and the economic situation and to external developments. We need a capable government with a strong backing of the people to do all that needs to be done on your behalf and see us through these tumultuous times.
Still, Mr. Lee says the time is ripe for an election now, when things are relatively stable, to give the new government a fresh 5-year mandate.
It can then focus on this national agenda and the difficult decisions it will have to make and to carry. The alternative is to wait out the COVID-19 pandemic. But we have no assurance that the pandemic will be over before this government's term must end. And that is why I have decided to hold the general election now.
With COVID-19, Mr. Lee notes the election will be unusual.
Before deciding to proceed, I had to be certain of 2 things. First, that voters can vote safely. And second, that political parties can campaign effectively. After studying the issues, I'm satisfied that both of these can be done.
Mr. Lee says elections have been held elsewhere amid the coronavirus, including in South Korea, Taiwan and Europe. For Singapore, precautions include more polling stations and allocated time slots to reduce crowds, as well as safe distancing at all times.
On effective campaigning, the Elections Department has also made arrangements and issued guidelines. Candidates can still go house-to-house campaigning in person, provided they observe the safe distancing precautions. Unfortunately, physical election rallies will not be possible, but we will make up with more opportunities for candidates to speak directly to voters on television and, of course, online, for example, via live streaming.
He reassures Singaporeans that the government and the public service will continue to function even after Parliament is dissolved. That also means the multi-ministry task force will continue to work on tackling COVID-19, and that essential work will go on during the election period.
The government that you elect will have critical decisions to make. These decisions will impact your lives and livelihoods and shape Singapore for many years to come, far beyond the 5-year term of the next government. Soon, you will have the chance to decide whom to entrust with the responsibility of working with you to take our country forward. I have every confidence that you will think carefully and vote wisely to secure our lives, our jobs, and our future.